Now we'll look at this application using levered equity, which is equity in a firm that actually does have debt. And remember, we're in perfect capital markets here, so what that means is regardless of the financing situation, the firm's cash flows will be the same because in a perfect capital market, the cash flows of the project are not influenced by financing decisions. So we're going to assume that the business's cash flow is certain to be at least $16,000. And so if it can borrow at least $16,000, or if the cash flow is certain to be at least $16,000, let's see how much it could actually borrow at the risk-free rate. And so what we need to do is say that the firm is certain to generate at least $16,000 in cash flows. Now remember, the $34,500 that we said that the firm will generate is just an expectation, so there is some risk involved with that. So it's not certain that it'll generate the $34,500, but what is certain is that the firm will generate at least $16,000. And so what that means is they can borrow at the risk-free rate up to the amount that will guarantee that they can pay off that they will pay $16,000 at the end of the year. So with the risk-free rate being 5%, what we say is if the interest rate is 5%, they could borrow a total of $15,238.10. Because if they borrow this much and the interest rate is 5%, at the end of the year they would owe $16,000 to the lender. And so the firm can borrow $15,000 at the risk-free rate, because they would be able to pay back at least $15,238.10 with absolute certainty come the end of the year. So, to get the cash flows to lenders in year one, we know that the firm has borrowed $15,000, and the firm has borrowed that at a 5% rate. And so the cash flows to lenders in year one will be $15,750. What that means is if you're an equity investor, means that you get whatever money is left over. The lenders get paid first. So no matter what, the lenders are going to collect this $15,750. The expected cash flows to equity investors is whatever's left over of the expected total cash flow. So the expected cash flow is $34,500. The borrower has promised $15,750 to the lender, and what that means is there's $18,750 that's expected to be left over that can be provided to the equity investors. So then the question is, how much equity capital can be raised? And so first, let's assume that the firm can use the project's cost of capital as 15%, as the required return on equity. So assume that the required return on equity is 15%, which is the project's cost of capital, as we saw earlier. Now I'm going to put a big asterisk here that gives us a note. This assumption is wrong. We'll discuss why this is wrong later, but for now we're going to move forward with that assumption and see what happens if we use that assumption. So how much equity capital can we raise if we can use that 15% cost of capital? We know that the cash flow to equity holders is expected to be $18,750. And if we're able to use 15% as the required return on equity, since that $18,750 is expected to occur in year 1, divide by 1.15, that 15% discount rate, to get the present value of this $18,750 cash flow. And so what this would mean is the firm would be able to raise $16,304 in equity capital.